Well, welcome back to my studio. I'm working on a little painting of 3 little bluebirds, Eastern Bluebirds, snuggled together on a branch. Tree branch, it's a evergreen cedar with berries and so anyway, I have already previously, in a previous session, I washed these in. The blue is mixtures of cobalt blue plus liquid. The sienna, the rusty color feathers are burnt sienna plus liquid, and then just the white panel. Now I'm going to be painting them, and I'm going back to my cobalt blue plus white, and you can see my reference pictures over here. I'm actually going to be turning that bluebird's head just a little bit, and so anyway, I just using this is again cobalt blue plus white. I have 3 different shades. I have a dark shade, a medium shade, and a light shade. This is, just go ahead. I like to wash in my drawings like that, particularly if I've got a distinct color pattern on a bird or a horse or whatever. It helps me to just, gives me something to follow. Gives me a road map to follow when I'm painting. Gets the lights coming in from the upper left, so he's got some light hitting him right here. His head there. And then underneath his beak, that's going to be darker because he's in shadow right here. So he's got a little white on his neck, just right there above the burnt sienna. Then this wing, he's a little bit of his shoulder and his wings show over on this side. These are just such pretty little birds. We don't have them here where I live, but thank goodness for the internet. I can go and look for pictures. Google.com is one of my favorite places to look for reference. But you have to be careful. You can't, there's copyright issues. I can't copy these pictures exactly, but I can use the birds for reference for the color and anatomy and position. And I don't copy the picture, but I just use the birds to use the pictures to kind of give me some reference material for these birds since I'm not real familiar with them. Now I'm going to go ahead, his chest, I'm going to go ahead and paint. These are mixes of my white plus a little bit of ultramarine blue, and then I've added some little bit of cadmium orange into that and a little bit of mud. Just gives me a nice soft gray for the shadow parts of him. He's hanging onto this branch right here. This comes down in front of that little bird he's snuggled up next to. Now this is pure white, put here on his where the sun hits him. Now his little talons on his little toes here, he's hanging onto this branch. This is mud, which is my 2 parts ultramarine blue and 1 part of alizarin crimson. I've added some liquid into that, and that just makes a nice thin oil mixture that I can make his little, Jack would call them his little hands there. He's just hanging on to that branch. These guys are just snuggled up together. Cold day, it hasn't snowed, but it's getting ready to. They're huddled together. We've got his talons in there. And I'm going to bring a little more shadow down here underneath it. Just picked up a little red from that berry, but that's good because that just gives us that red's just reflecting onto his white feathers there. And let's do a little bit more highlight in here. Now we'll do that burnt sienna. Now this is mixtures of my mud plus cadmium red light plus cadmium orange. It gives me just a really nice burnt sienna color. I'm using a bright brush that's a square-ended brush, and I can use the flat side to cover large surfaces, or I can use the corner to make little finer brush strokes. I need to mix a little bit more white into this sienna mixture here for the highlights. And he's got a little fluff here that just gets a little light right on his neck. And this is catching a little light right here. The sun comes, or the light comes right on that side of his beak. And then gets a little light here on his chest. And these feathers actually go down. I wanted to paint my white first because these feathers overlap on his breast. So that this then our deeper, richer color goes back here. This comes down. And bring a little bit, the darker right in here, under his wing. Love the way these guys are nestled up here on this, snuggled up on this branch. And I just decided to add the red berries in there. It just adds a nice little touch of color in there. But you can see how I can just put this brush sideways and make different strokes. It's a very versatile brush. Now he's got a little bit of white just right at the edge of this blue on his neck here. I can soften that, take a little different brush. This is called a Filbert. It has an oval tip, and this just is, I can bring this around. Don't really get much of the white on that. You get a little darker as it goes back here. It just kind of tips up. Now to make his beak, I'm going to use, this is my ultramarine blue plus 2 parts ultramarine blue plus alizarin crimson plus liquid. My mud mixture, my oil wash mixture. I'm just going to use that to make his beak. Now I have saved my background color, so I can come in with that and work around and make the point on his beak. Get my correct shade here. And then his eye, my little fine liner brush gets a little bit of a color on his iris. And then the highlight catch light in his eye. If I can get my hand good and steady here. So, there's our little, I want to soften the back of his head so that want his beak in the forefront of his head, his forehead, to be a little bit more defined so that your gaze goes right to his eye there. And this I need to go just a little bit darker right there. And then a little bit of a dark just on that other edge. And then I'm going to bring some blue highlight right here. I thank you for watching my YouTube videos. If you'd like to see the rest of the progress on this painting, just visit my blog. The link is in the description below. The address is also on the final frame of my YouTube video. And in that I show the entire process of painting this piece. So you just have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you again. I really appreciate you. And always feel free to ask questions. So you just have a great day.